Why the Hays Code is essential to the development of modern-day rating systems. In the 1920s, movies were beginning to shine, with sound just recently being implemented and movie theater attendance on the rise. A quote from David Cook's book, The History of Native Film, summarizes the period perfectly by saying, "The Hollywood scandals of 1921 to 1922 had alerted many civic-minded people to the power of the movies and its influence on social attitudes and behaviors." When the first data on movie attendance in the United States were systematically gathered in 1922, it was discovered that more than 40 million tickets were sold every week. By the end of the decade, the figure had more than doubled to 90 million. This period of comfort wouldn't last long though, as a dark cloud was quickly approaching. The Great Depression began in 1929 and resulted in massive waves of job loss and financial instability for the working class man. This led to the average blue-collar family searching wherever they could to find joy and entertainment in this troubling time. During this time period, due to the lack of supervision and missing uniformity among the big studios, films in Hollywood have become more violent, sexual, and overall crude in the nature, despite receiving previous concerns about the intensity of their content. This resulted in a movement erupting from the Catholic Church and concerned parents over the content their families were being exposed to. They were afraid from the lack of oversight found in Hollywood and worried about the messages being passed along to their society. The movement reached its pinnacle in the shape of the Hays Code era, which began in 1934 and was a code that mandated that all Hollywood films be suitable for general audiences and bear their certificate of approval if they wanted to have a successful public release. With this code in place, it led to more creative restrictions on suggestive nudity and profanity, but more creative workarounds had to be made, ushering in a new age of cinema that led to box office hits and historical classics, such as Wizard of Oz and Citizen Kane. The code, however, overstayed its welcome, with it having rules that people found excessive. It led to the then president of the Motion Picture Association of America, Jack Valenti, to call it out of its date, later addressing it as having the odious smell of censorship. As a result of this, the MPAA Modern Film Rating System was created. At the time, it consisted of 4 ratings: G, M, R, and X, but it has been subject to various changes over the decades. The system wasn't perfect though, and needed time to perfect its criteria. This was evident when the films Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Gremlins were released. They received a large amount of backlash from concerned parents due to its intense content, even though it was rated PG. This caused director Steven Spielberg to push for the MPAA to create another category in their rating system, PG-13, which still included adult material, but one that was more suitable for younger audiences. This is a great example of the domino effect needed for this issue to be resolved, in the overall trial and error learning process that the film industry had to endure in order to perfect and protect its rating system. That is to say, due to the increase in picture quality in a heavy political and economical environment, audience attendance began to rise on the back half of the Depression, as theatergoers needed something to comfort them in their daily lives. With the influx of people attending the theater, more and more attendees were noticing the lack of guidance and rules that were plaguing Hollywood. This uproar resulted in the Hays Code being implemented, and as restrictive as they were, it was what was needed at the time to help guide studios and production companies to the modern-day rating system that currently sits on every major motion picture being released in the United States today. And while the current system took a while to perfect, it couldn't have reached the level of success it has today without the original implementation of the Hays Code during the Great Depression, which ended up changing cinema forever.